Thank you so much, Jenny, for that very warm welcome. Good morning, everyone. My name is Melissa Tran, and I'm here to represent TrialBee. There we go. Okay, so just a brief background about who we are. We are a software company. We're not a CRO. We do not conduct any clinical trials. What we aim to do is provide solutions for clinical trial planning and management. Our company is based in Malmö, Sweden, so we are a Swedish company. And our aim with the patients in focus is to accelerate clinical trials to improve people's lives around the globe. So there's been a lot of talk yesterday, and actually I think there's been a change and a shift within the industry to really take patients as a main focus, and that's exactly what we do and at the core of our business. So I think everybody that's in clinical trials will understand and agree that patient recruitment is a key bottleneck when it comes to clinical research. Clinical trials are costly and time-consuming. On average, it takes 10 to 12 years to bring a new drug to market, and 80% of clinical trials will fail to meet patient recruitment targets, and due to patient recruitment challenges. These delays cause, a number of treatment drugs not to be available, less drugs available, hinders the advancement of new technologies, new drugs available to those that need it most. So what we do at TrialBee is we try to unify every step of the clinical trial process on one platform. We feel that every individual stakeholder, sponsors, patients, and investigators are equally important to the success of clinical trials in general. So our solution helps to enhance that clinical trial process, being a collaborative platform so that they can all communicate. We have digital channels of how we do this, and when you think about the best technologies out there, they conquer and aim to resolve complex problems with simple solutions. So our solution is to connect patients that are out there looking for trials with recruiting patients. It's kind of a no-brainer, but the algorithms and methodologies can be quite complex, in which we've figured out a way to optimize patient recruitment. And we match those patients that are out there searching, that want to find more treatment options for either themselves or their loved ones, and we match them with recruiting trials. And we do that on different digital channels, such as social media, AdWords, patient advocacy groups are very big for us. So we try to connect those dots and really bridge that gap. So we've been able to recruit globally. We started in Sweden, and throughout Europe, there are different regulatory directives here, and we definitely have the experience working in Europe, but we have also been able to recruit for the US, Canada, and parts of South America in a multitude of different indications. We can recruit on more large-scale populations, more chronic diseases like diabetes and cardiovascular, or more narrow indications like or orphan drug diseases or rare diseases. We've just added oncology into our lineup. I think it's an underserved area where there's a lot of research being done, so we see that as a future of where we're going. What that translates into is that we're able to translate our system into 16 different languages in over 48 different countries. Having that grasp, because we are cloud-based and we work on the internet, we have that reach. So what's next for TrialBee? First and foremost, we want to strengthen our footprint in the US market. We do have a presence there in terms of we have customers. We currently recruit patients in the US, so we will establish a US office. We're hoping to do that by the end of this year, and that will organically grow our team globally. We will continue to focus on current and new offerings with the patient in mind and sponsors' feedbacks. We do a lot of social listening and a lot of feedback talks with sponsors because we want to develop something that will make their workflow more manageable and for patients to really be engaged, whether that's a different user interface or a new implementation. We will roll that out because we are a technical, flexible solution provider. And of course, lastly, collaborating with top pharmaceutical companies. They have the most resources and the most reach, and I think it's our job in this new innovative sector to really educate them on the new technologies that are available. They may not understand all the complexities to it, so we really have to be a partner to them to help bridge that gap and to bring innovation into the forefront of what they're doing so that they can help manage these clinical trials faster and expedite the drugs to market, bringing them to you and me and patients around the globe. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Jenny, would you like to join us on stage? And hopefully our commentators have some questions or insights that you'd like to share.
Oh,
take a seat. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that presentation for both of you. I do have a question regarding legislation and also when it comes to which market is most suitable to deploy new solutions on. Because in the previous presentation, I also mentioned that sometimes it's very difficult to deploy it because there are so many rules, so many legislation, so many governmental involvement. I think I should ask this question to the last presenter. I'm sorry, it was Melissa.
Melissa, yeah.
Seeing your company, in which country do you think it's best to deploy this? Which country do we need to stress on most to get these new systems in place? Because it's a wonderful system, I have to admit.
Thank you very much for your question. That's very valid. Because we are a Swedish company, we have to follow all of the Swedish data protection directives in the way that we operate, which is also in adherence to the EU directives, which, if anybody knows about those regulations, are quite strict on its own, which you said you knew. So we are able to I think we'd have to get into the details of what the product does, but we don't keep any sensitive data. So patient data we don't actually keep track of, so that way it mitigates some of those regulatory barriers. So that, I mean, in terms of where we can deploy this, we are doing patient recruitment globally. And we're not in violation of any of those regulatory laws. And of course, in places where our services or, if we're doing types of patient recruitment campaigns, if we can't work through a certain channel that we're used to, we'll find another way to be able to do that.
So you're saying that Sweden is the place to push this through?
Absolutely. I'm not Swedish, if you can hear from my very American accent, but I do work in the headquarters in Malmö, and I've seen just the technology that is coming out of Sweden is amazing, and it's a really exciting space to be in, especially in digital health. There's so many new inventive ways, and I'm just happy to be on this journey. So I think Sweden's great.
All right. Well, Sweden, the challenge has been extended then.
Well, we are supposed to be the melting pot of innovation and digital health and so forth, so that's a perfect example of it.
Absolutely.
I have another question for the other speaker. I forgot her name.
Jenny.
Jenny. Sorry. You as a company or as an agency that is supporting new innovation in healthcare in Sweden, you have a lot of amazing projects going on, a lot of innovative ideas that are reaching out to you. Do you think that your company could support them in any way to get through this maze of rules and regulations in healthcare?
And thank you for that question. As the governmental agency that we are, when we're funding with the taxpayers' money, of course, that is something that we also want to achieve long term. And that's also that I sort of mentioned one of the governmental commissions that we have within digital health is actually to focus on the future information system to have this, make the interoperability which is necessary happen, and actually prevent it from a lock-in. And that type of programs, we're really seeing that happening, and that's starting now, and we're going to see that over the next year. And it's a huge challenge, but if any system that really could do and make a difference, I mean, it's the one-payer system like we have in the Nordics, so I'm really optimistic in that perspective. But having to say that there's a really big risk in that, and which is also why Vinnova is funding this.
Well, that's a positive note, bearing in mind that regulation is sort of the hot potato in all of the dialogue. So it's good to know that there is, I mean, being government funded, that there is actually strategies.
Yes, and I think that TrialBee and Melissa, and this is why I think that they are such a perfect example. Regardless of regulation, you just have to know regulation and work your way through regulation. There will always be regulation, and it might change and might be better, but there will always be regulation. That's a good thing. So you just have to be able to utilize it.
Right. You have to be able to be flexible, and that may mean configuring something a certain way or thinking about it differently. So with those regulations, it's about being creative, which you were creative to start with, to create this idea, this movement, this change. So that's what we aim to do.
Be creative and flexible. That will have to be our end note. But thank you so much, Jenny and Melissa, and the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
And with that, it's thank you. An applause.